All right, so let me just go again. Welcome on behalf of the Jamaica Teaching Council and UNICEF in bringing you this webinar on accessible digital textbook for Child Month 2023. Before we begin, I want to invite my colleague, Mrs. Ingrid Peart-Wilmot, to start with prayer.
Thank you, Mrs. Solomon. Good evening, everyone. Let us pray. Father, we are just so grateful for yet another day. We thank you for this opportunity when great minds can come together to have this conversation, to learn from each other, so that, Lord, all our children can benefit from what we've learned this afternoon. I ask that you continue to bless all the stakeholders in this meeting. We thank you for the heart and soul that have been poured into making this world a better place for every child by the things that are done, Lord. We thank you for all the members of the education spaces, especially this evening. UNICEF, the Council, the Jamaica Teaching Council, the Ministry of Education, our teachers. Lord, we ask you for continued strength and wisdom and just the heart to serve, oh God, in such a way that we will leave a legacy of greatness, Lord, in every space that we occupy. Thank you for your continued goodness to us, and may we continue this collaboration that will produce greatness for our nation and the world. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mrs. Peart-Wilmot. And I want a special welcome to all my other colleagues at Jamaica Teaching Council, my other co-host, Mr. Davian Leslie, our Chief Professional Development Officer, and he will be doing all the technical work on here today, queuing all the videos, and certainly putting links into the chat and all of that. So thank you. I know also Ms. Dredra Bailey, our professional development specialist, is also in this space. So I want to give a special welcome, and we will be joined later by our CEO, Dr. Winsome Gordon. So thank you and welcome, my colleagues. We have with us UNICEF representatives. We have Cynthia Brizuela, our Regional Inclusive Education and Disability Specialist, and we are going to hear from her soon, right? We're going to hear from her soon. We have Olga Isaza, our UNICEF representative in Jamaica. We have Dr. Rebecca Tortello, Educational Specialist from UNICEF Jamaica. Yes, great. And I want to thank UNICEF Jamaica for having Sharmadine Brown, our interpreter, with us this evening. Welcome. All right. Our colleague, our fellow colleague from the Ministry of Education and Youth, Ms. Dion Gale, will be our first person to bring greetings. But before that, let's talk about why we are here. So you heard about accessible digital textbook. And if you have been following our Ministry of Education Facebook or social media pages, you would see our Prime Minister talking with a young man and using his textbooks. And so we are not new to this, but we are here to hear some more. You must be interested in how can I access these books? How can I get them? What can I do with them? So as teachers, you have students who will be very interested in using these books. So that is why we're here. But what better way to tell you about why we're here than to show you a video? And our first video we have is called Without Limits, How a Jamaican Girl with Disabilities Can Learn. Let's watch.
Rebecca Tortello, Education Specialist, UNICEF Jamaica.
The reason we wanted to be part of the ADT project and innovation is to be able to move towards making more of our classrooms fully inclusive.
Dwayne Campbell, founder and CEO of Book Fusion,
accessible digital textbook projects with UNICEF, Ministry of Education, and Book Fusion, it is really about creating digital textbooks that are accessible to learners with and without disabilities. So basically, whether you have a disability or not, you should be able to use the same textbook in the classroom and at home.
Shemoya, 11 years old, student.
I like my classmates, I like my teacher, I like learning.
Kirkland Walker, Shemoya's father.
Yeah, she's improving here. When online, do tablet online, she want more question and more give answer. Me say, Shamoya, what is this? And she the one that she can tell. Miss Harris depend upon she to tell the question. So she's learning. Yeah, she's coming on.
Cynthia Brizuela, Inclusive Education Specialist, UNICEF Latin America and the Caribbean.
The Accessible Digital Textbook Initiative started in 2015 as a global initiative with UNICEF. And this global initiative in UNICEF united publishers, organizations of people with disabilities to create the protocol and the guides to produce accessible digital textbooks. In Jamaica, for us, is the first English-speaking country that is involved.
Rebecca Tortello, Education Specialist, UNICEF Jamaica.
Having Jamaican voices, for a young child to hear the voices, to get that sense of familiarity and confidence from hearing familiar sounds, hearing the familiar settings of the background sounds, seeing the familiar images or hearing them described, I think builds a sense of confidence and strength.
Katie and Lemard, Head of Special Education Unit at Hope Valley Experimental School.
We now have access to books that can read for the students. Instead of having a child reading on her own and she's not able to read, right, the book is there to read. It is so good that you could have your earpiece in and you could listen to the book.
Kaya Lee, 13 years old, student.
Some of the words in there, I don't really know it, and I'm happy that it's saved for me. If I want to start it back over, I can do it. And it reads for us too.
Fayval Williams, Minister of Education and Youth, Jamaica.
I can see the vision in my mind of all of our children gathered around this device and are able to access it, not just when they're alone, but in a group with others, fully inclusive, enjoying learning.
Cynthia Brizuela, Inclusive Education Specialist, UNICEF Latin America and the Caribbean.
The purpose is inclusion, and we want to, in order to have inclusion, we need children in their regular classrooms to reflect the diversity of our societies.
Mariko Kagoshima, Representative, UNICEF Jamaica.
We don't want to leave anyone behind, and then with this technology, we are able to reach the most usually unreachable fast.
Dwayne Campbell, Founder and CEO of Book Fusion.
I would say the perfect end goal for this kind of project is that we start a movement, so to speak. That would be the end goal, which will then result in now classrooms not being segregated and all learners inside the same classroom, and then, a happy society.
Mariko Kagoshima, Representative, UNICEF Jamaica.
I think this is really exciting, and then we really think that this project represents our motto of leave no child behind, and it's very exciting for us.
Rebecca Tortello, Education Specialist, UNICEF Jamaica.
I think for the children with special needs to be able to be in the class with all their peers will be revelational, will be life-changing. It also will validate for them their own skills and what they can bring to the classroom with their peers. And I think that's priceless.
Okay, teachers, what do you think about that? I don't know if you've seen it on the social media pages. If you go on UNICEF Jamaica YouTube page, you will be able to see that video once again. But we look and we see that that's exactly why we're here today. You can, and we even had someone with audio problems in the chat, and the person said they couldn't hear me, but they could see the captions and they could follow along with the video. That's wonderful, isn't it? And even more special, this has been localized for Jamaica. So we have Jamaican Sign Language. We have things in our own context. This is just great news. This is just great for us. And I want to, even further to talk to us and give us greetings for why we are here. We are going to be welcoming two persons, Dion Gale from our special education unit and Olga Isaza. First up is Dion Gale, our acting assistant chief education officer in the special education unit. A charming lady. You will see her smile, but she has a positive outlook on life, and her favorite quote is, "All things are possible with Christ." With over 20 years in the field of special education, she's pleased to be with us today to greet you all. Dion?
Thank you so much, Alison, for that warm welcome. Thank you very much. It is indeed my pleasure to bring greetings on behalf of the Ministry of Education and Youth, and by extension, the Special Education Unit. But let me acknowledge Jamaica, UNICEF Country Manager, Olga Isaza. Jamaica, UNICEF, Dr. Rebecca Tortello, Education Specialist. Cynthia Brizuela, Regional Disability Specialist. Representatives from JTC. Mr. Dwayne Campbell, Founder and CEO, Book Fusion. Other distinguished guests, a pleasant afternoon. Now, whenever UNICEF and the Ministry of Education come together, it's usually something special. Whether it's a meeting or an occasion such as this one, it is indeed special. You know why? It means that a program is being born. It means that something special is coming for learners all across Jamaica. The Ministry of Education and Youth is quite pleased, or should I say very grateful, for this initiative in particular, because it means that students with special needs is now going to have a chance to enhance their learning. The accessible digital textbook, the pages are going to be coming alive for our learners. The initiative means that the doors for inclusion is going to be opened even wider. I could go on and talk about all the achievement, the elevated reading levels, but I was told to be brief. And so I just want to say, for me, this is really special, because not just now for learners with special needs, but for all our learners, the universal design learning approach, we see it coming to life here. And I just really want to say thank you to UNICEF. I want to say thank you to Book Fusion, and I want to say thank you to JTC. Always coming together and making miracles for the children of Jamaica. Thank you. We are truly grateful.
Oh, I told you she was charming. Thank you, Dion. Great. Thank you for that. Now, I must tell you, teachers, that we have special giveaways for you. We have call credit, digital call credit, in the amount of $500. So you need to be paying attention. I can ask about the video that went on before and what happened in the video. What was the name of the young lady? I don't know if that's the question I'm going to ask. What is the name of the school she's from? I could ask that. The teacher's name. All right. Yeah, I could ask those questions. But think about it, try to recall everything and even what Miss Gale had said, because now we're going to get greetings from UNICEF. And to bring us greetings is Olga Isaza. And Olga has been with UNICEF, the representative in Jamaica, from February 2023. She's a newbie. Hi, Olga. She previously served as acting representative for UNICEF in Peru and deputy representative in Argentina and Peru. With 15 years experience in UNICEF, she has worked as a public policy specialist, and she's especially passionate about children's rights. Mrs. Saza is a national of Colombia. Hola, Olga, welcome. Bienvenido.
Gracias, Alison. Hola. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. Dear Alison, thank you for creating this special space for all of us. Mr. Dion Gale from the Special Education Unit in the Ministry of Education and Youth, Chief Executive Officer of Book Fusion, Dan Campbell, other partners from the Ministry and the Jamaica Teaching Council, my dear colleague Cynthia Brizuela, Regional Inclusive Education and Disability Specialist at UNICEF Regional Office, and my dear colleagues Rebecca Tortello, Education Specialist here in Jamaica, principals, teachers, students, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I am very pleased to join you today to talk about our collective effort to ensure that all children are included in the teaching and learning process with the help of the technology. Let me begin with a question, maybe not for a prize, but for your interest. Which of these countries do you think was the first to ratify the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities in 2007? Jamaica, the USA, Spain? If someone put it in the
I
chat.
see lots of Jamaica.
Exactly, yes, Jamaica. And recently, the Disability Act was passed, along with its landmark regulation to encourage all Jamaicans to recognize and accept the principle that persons with disabilities have the same fundamental rights as any other person. The Act was also designed to ensure that persons with disability, especially children with disability, can take part effectively and are included on an equal basis with others in all spaces of national lives. Still, children with disabilities remain among the most marginalized and face many challenges related to accessing quality education. This is the driving force for us at UNICEF. We have a long history of working to expand access to quality education and active citizenship for all Jamaican students, especially children with disabilities. Over the years, in partnership with the Education Ministry, we completed the revision of the National Special Education Curricula and developed guidelines to transition young people with disability from school to work. Together, we have also developed an inclusive education course for early childhood sector. Additionally, we are a significant partner to the National Early Screening Identification and Referral Pathway that includes the Children Health Development Passport and the Jamaica School Readiness Assessment. And of course, we continue to advocate for the special education policy to be finalized. The accessible digital textbook, like the ones we are featuring here today, approach education from a position that in every classroom, there are students with different learning styles and needs. UNICEF and its partners are proud to be driving the innovative solutions to make school books available, affordable, and accessible for children with disabilities in all contexts, and to facilitate children with and without disabilities learning together in the same classroom. The specific features that are added to digital forms follow the universal design for learning principle, which makes the books accessible to students who are blind or have low vision, as well as those who are deaf or hard of hearing, and to those who have intellectual, developmental, or learning disabilities, among others. The universal design and learning principles allow us to really make the material come alive for all students to be engaged while learning. UNICEF is proud that Jamaica is the first English-speaking country in the region to begin the ADT journey, and there are many lessons to share. Today's webinar is one way to begin that process to share how quality education can be made more accessible to children with disabilities. UNICEF looks forward to completing all 12 of books in the Literature 1 to 3 series with the continued support for the ELEVA Foundation, our colleagues at the regional office and the special education unit, and of course, the talented implementing partner, Book Fusion. UNICEF's ADT contribution is another important step along the critical path of inclusion and reducing stigma. UNICEF looks forward to the day when the Education Ministry will have a dedicated accessible digital textbook unit and when the entire national curriculum will be presented in an ADT format. Thank you so much and the best wishes for the successful webinar.
Thank you, Olga. Thank you, gracias. And I see that you have settled in quite well, and thank you. And so many things said about, what's happening here in Jamaica, passing our own Disabilities Act and looking forward to our special education policy. Olga, I see you have really gotten into what's happening here in Jamaica. And thank you for coming and giving us greetings. The teachers, have we been paying attention? All right. And so we are going to be giving our first giveaway, $500 Digicel credit. Let me tell you how this is going to go now. I'm going to ask a question and you're going to raise your hands. All right, you're going to raise your hand. So Mr. Leslie, could you make sure that nobody can speak, open their mic? Because they're going to have to raise their hand.
Everyone is muted. Let me just make sure again.
Everyone is muted.
Indeed.
Okay, so I'm going to ask the question, you're going to raise your hand, and then because, I'm going to just ask you to talk to me. It's not just a straight answer. All right. So when we were talking in the video, right, and Cynthia Brizuela spoke about what the purpose of ADT, the accessible digital textbooks, were. What was the purpose and what is the motto? What's the purpose of ADT books and what is the motto? All right, who wants to go first? Did I make it too hard? Keisha, okay. Mr. Leslie, we have Keisha Smiley Tummins. Let's ask her to unmute.
Good
Keisha?
afternoon, colleagues. How are we all doing?
I'm doing great, Keisha. You?
I am wonderful.
Good.
So the main purpose is to ensure that both disabled and non-abled children and abled children, can work together in the classroom, making it inclusive for everybody. And the motto is, no child is left behind.
Wonderful, wonderful. So we were looking for inclusion is the purpose. And the motto, leave no child behind. Yes, wonderful. Keisha, tell you what's going to happen. No, Keisha, Mr. Leslie is going to private message you the voucher number for that 500. Please let us know when you get it.
Thank you, I will. And you have a great webinar. I'll be tuning in until the end.
Wonderful. We're so happy to have you, Keisha. Teachers, it's not done yet. We have to pay attention. All right. So next, we have an overview of this term, this approach we've been hearing. We heard Dion Gale refer to it. We heard Olga Isaza refer to it. It's universal design for learning. And some of our special educators in this space already know what that is, right? And as educators, we always keep ourselves abreast. But to talk about it in the context of why we're here today, I want to welcome Cynthia Brizuela. You met her in the video. Now you have her all to yourselves. And welcome, Cynthia is the Regional Inclusive Education and Disability Specialist for Latin America and the Caribbean. She has been quoted as saying, feeling passionate about what you do has always been the key ingredient for successful outcomes. Right, so I can tell she's very passionate and she speaks about loving her work. You must love your work. You must make it fun, teachers, make it fun. And you'll never have to work a day in your life. Just have fun every day. right? She has been working as an education specialist at UNICEF for over 9 years or 9 years thereabout. And she's based at the UNICEF regional office in Panama and carries the role of regional focal point for disabilities inclusion. She has worked with the ADT initiative in Paraguay, where she's from. All right, so welcome, bienvenido. Welcome, Cynthia. Can't unmute, Davian.
There we go. Greetings to everyone. Thank you for this warm welcome. It's really nice to be in Jamaica, at least virtually, to be with all of you. I already feel in Jamaica, and thank you so much for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be sharing this space with you. Greetings to the authorities, to the colleagues, to the teachers that are taking this time to learn a little bit more about what we are doing and to really engage with us. And this is really the powerful force that will transform education is here together, teachers engaging and learning every day. So hopefully today we'll learn a little bit more of what we already know. Most of you know what Universal Design for Learning is, but we are going to talk about inclusive education, that is a framework, that is the right to an inclusive education. What is this, and how the Universal Design for Learning approach really brings us to talk about one thing, which is a book. This book that is just the excuse to talk about everything else, to talk about the work we do every day. So let me share my screen. Okay, and you will let me know if you see it.
Yes, we are seeing it now, Cynthia.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. So you see in a presentation mode, correct?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Okay. So this right to an inclusive education, what does it really mean? So let me start with this just to make us think about this. I love this quote that comes from a very nice teacher that's called Jasmine Harris that talks a lot about inclusive education, inclusion, and inclusion processes based on the Convention of the Rights of Persons with Disabilities and the human rights approach need to be driven by a fundamental faith that it is possible to reduce disability discrimination if we succeed in fostering interactions between people with and without disabilities. This faith is based on the idea of contact and integration of people with and without disabilities, with the expectation that such contact will reduce prejudicial attitudes and change social norms. And why we're talking about changing attitudes and changing norms and talking about putting together people, and why we're talking about reducing discrimination, let's keep those things in mind as we talk about inclusive education. Because when we talk about inclusive education, it is necessary to change the paradigm that we just saw the Convention of the Rights of a Child and the Convention of the Rights of People with Disabilities combat these charitable approaches that view children with disabilities as passive recipients of care and protection. This requires eradicating the traditional notion that children with disabilities should be rescued and replacing it with the measures to eradicate physical, cultural, economic, attitudinal, communication, and mobility barriers that impede the realization of their rights. Include working with families and communities also as part of the solution of working this necessary change of paradigm, this necessary change of social norms that we see children with disabilities and reduce the barriers. This is very important when we're talking about including children with disabilities. The right of children with disabilities to inclusive quality education at all levels throughout life is expressed in the Article 24 of the Convention of the Rights of People with Disabilities. And however, inclusive education as an idea of giving all children the opportunity to learn together has its roots more recently in the Salamanca Declaration and the Education for All initiative. This is just to remind you the framework, where we're coming from. We've been talking about this since 1994, since 2000. So over 20 years, we've been talking about inclusive education. We're talking where is the framework? The framework is we're talking about the SDG 4. We're talking about all the legal frameworks of the country, in this case in Jamaica. We're talking about the Convention of the Rights of the Child. We're talking about the Convention of the Rights of the People with Disabilities. Just some numbers before we jump into why this is so important for UNICEF, is why this is so important to joint efforts with the Ministry of Education, with the Prime Minister, with the councils to talk about this, because there is a new study that was released last year at the end of the year, in the beginning of 2024, that talks about 240 million children estimates worldwide that have a disability. And in Latin America and the Caribbean, we are talking about 19.1 million children with disabilities. This represents 10% of the children from 0 to 17. And there is lack of data on children with disabilities, of specific data of children with disabilities. There is also existence of national laws and frameworks on inclusive education, but mainly special education. This study shows us that 47% of the children with disabilities are more likely to drop out of elementary school, 49, almost 50, more likely to never have attended school. This is really scary. And 42% less likely to have basic reading and arithmetic skills, and limited access to remote learning, accessible content, and quality learning. And 24% less likely to receive early stimulation and responsive care, which are very important to start school right for any child, but especially for children with disabilities. Challenges post-COVID, and I wanted to put this slide because we have to think about this. We haven't been talking before COVID about digital learning for all. And since COVID, this paradigm already changed. We were forced to change in the way we're thinking. But generally speaking, students with disabilities have a poor access to online education for a variety of reasons. Pre-existing access and quality gaps already limit technical capabilities, capacities, and resources available to teachers. Digital and technological divide, lack of accessible education materials, loss of socialization spaces, and weak social policies for early childhood to reach throughout the system. These are some of the main issues that came across Latin America and the Caribbean, certainly Caribbean as well. So although the focus is on inclusive education, a comprehensive approach is important, and this is why I'm bringing all this information and data, especially for the youngest children. So educational services might also be complemented and articulated with health, nutrition, and social and protection programs. And this is what Olga mentioned in her speech also, what we're trying to reach out to all these sectors to have this intersectorial, integral approach to talking about inclusive system. And the opportunity is to move a special education from a special education that implies a segregation to an inclusive system with a universal design for learning. And it's so important to do several things. And we're also collecting data to support planning and to support the networks that we're working on. And I will pass you really quickly because Jamaica is very compliant to the CRPD, to the Marrakesh Treaty. There are national laws. There are new efforts to address all these treaties and to convert it into a national law to make sure children with disabilities are included, and especially education is really addressed by this. And so there's a gradual introduction in the region and also in Jamaica of universal design for learning and its respective supports and reasonable accommodations that are necessary for an inclusive education. So what is an inclusive education? We have this definition by UNESCO in 2009 that is a process of addressing and responding to the diversity of needs of all children, youth, and adults through increasing participation in learning, cultures, communities, and reducing and eliminating exclusion within and from education. So what is inclusion in a drawing? This is what it looks like. Exclusion is when only the children, let's say children with disabilities, are the color all but green. So we have, they are outside of a system. That's exclusion. We mostly have in our regions either segregation or integration. So segregation means we have special units that are segregated for the regular unit. And so this is how it looks like. Integration means that within schools are also special classrooms. And once in a while, children are bridging to the regular school. And inclusion, when everybody is in the same classroom with the adequate tools for learning. So this is, I just want to highlight the learning aspect. So what are the implications of inclusive education? So we already talked about the paradigm shift, but that students with disabilities attend regular classrooms, and the classroom are with their non-disabled siblings and peers, with supports they require to succeed. This is very, very important. And what are the desired indicators of inclusions? The children with disabilities are welcome, that every child is welcome from the neighborhoods, in their neighborhood school, that they benefit from social and academic stimulation of education with his or with their peers, and that there are strategies to support to make this approach successful. And these strategies means also the capacity of teachers to work with the universal design for learning. So inclusive education is still not widely practiced in schools across the world. As a result, only few have seen what inclusion really is. It's still a myth for some of us, and there are some misunderstandings there are some occasional truths. We have to be aware of that. I wanted to put that there because we have to think about this. Because when we're asking ourselves what inclusion means, we have to come up with a good definition in our head of how it should look like. We should have friends with disabilities being with us at home, for instance. So inclusive education requires a transformation in culture, but also policy and practice. This is very important. So inclusion is excellence in education, not just for children with disabilities. The best teachers are the best at fostering inclusion. So inclusive education in the classroom uses universal design for learning that seeks to make learning accessible to all students, particularly those students who have not been successful because of inflexible systems of learning. This is highly important. You all heard of multiple intelligences. So universal for design for learning addresses the same issue with several methodologies that touches on all the multiple learning skills, learning qualities that we all have individually, regardless of the disability. So it addresses the diversity of learning. So how does a UDL, Universal Design for Learning classroom, looks like? It's a cooperative and collaborative learning. So that means children learn together solving problems sometimes. Sometimes they share questions and answers. They share, they teach each other, peer tutoring. They have different the learning styles are really taken into consideration, and there is differentiated instruction. Even if they are in the same classroom, there is a really good attention to the diverse learning styles of all learners, not only those with disabilities. So the elements that contribute to an inclusive education are then the vision, the leadership, the knowledge and skill, the teacher's training, the teacher's support, the resources to support inclusion that comes all the ADTs, the parents with confidence to insist on change. And I put this over there because we work a lot with families, and this is also a belief that we need to engage parents that really children with disabilities can learn, and obviously the attitudes. So the accessible digital textbook in Universal Design for Learners is Universal Design for Learning is designed for learners with and without disabilities. So it's a tool that allows for all learners, including those with disabilities, to access information in alternative formats based on UDL principles. Digital accessible formats are versatile and allow users to customize and combine diverse features like narration, sign language, interactivity, audio description of images, a glossary. You can click on your preferences and you can customize your own screen for learning. Other functions to see different preference, learning styles, and access of needs. I was speeding a little bit because I want to give the floor to my did I stop showing? You still there?
Yes, you stopped sharing.
Okay, good. So, so I want to give the floor to our next speaker. So we'll see what Universal Design for Learning looks like. Okay, so thank you so much for this time and this opportunity. And I'll give the floor back to you.
Gracias. Gracias, Cynthia. You gave us a lot to think about. I see that Mr. Campbell is good to go, ready to go. But before we welcome Dwayne Campbell from Book Fusion, who is going to talk to us about UDL in Jamaica, ADT in Jamaica, right? Cynthia gave us a lot. And, I recall when you said there are 240 million children in the world with a disability, and 47% most likely will drop out, 49% will probably never attend school. This is really touching for me. When I first started out, a very young profession, social work, I worked with the disability community, and many of them weren't in school. Many of them, we had to go into homes and communities, teachers. They were not included in the formal system. And so I think we've come a long way for Jamaica to be the first to ratify this convention, for Jamaica to be here, the first English-speaking country in the Caribbean to have the ADT initiative. What it is like to have Jamaican Sign Language in these books, what it is like to hear Jamaican voice in these books. The children will hear what they are accustomed to. I am getting this warm, fuzzy feeling, teachers, that we are onto something good. And the first video, I'm not going to ask the question because I'm going to give away the answer. Shamoya, 11 years old, came from Hope Valley Experimental, a school I also went down to when I was a social work student. And for the first time, able-bodied and disabled children were together, working together. So yes, and that whole picture of what segregation is, and and integration And just to see integration different from inclusion, and that's where we need to go. Teachers, I have a question, right? I have a question. The CRPD is a major thing that we have become a signatory to. What is the CRPD? Raise your hand. Well, Josette is up and running. Josette, I'm going to ask you to unmute.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Josette.
CRPD means Convention on the Rights of People with Disabilities.
I'm going to give it to you. It says persons with disabilities. It's the same thing, right?
Yes.
Good job, Josette. Follow-up question. But I'm going to give you the prize anyway, you know, but I have a follow-up question, right? This is related to what SDG? SDG 4. What is that SDG?
All right, to be honest, I'm not sure.
All right, teachers, you want to help her out, put it in the chat. What is SDG 4? SDG 4. I know my teachers know. It relates to you directly. And SDG 4 speaks to quality education.
Okay.
Quality education. It was in Spanish, right? So, you know, we need to get our dual language going there. So, you see, Newman Ridley is going a little bit further. Sustainable access to quality education, quality inclusive education. Thank you, Cynthia. All right, just as Mr. Leslie is going to reach out to you in the chat and give you credit. Could our first winner just put it in the chat that she got her credit so that we know that this thing is legitimate. All right, so thank you, Josette. And moving right along, I know it's been a long day. Been at school, I've been at work, and so we're here to really look at those books. Look at these books. We want to welcome Dwayne Campbell. Dwayne has a story to tell. I don't think he has all day for the story. He's going to focus on the books, but he is the founder and CEO of Book Fusion, an open global ebook platform that redefines the reading experience. Dwayne, I have seen these books. I have really played them. I've read them. It is said that Dwayne is born from the need for an integrated reading platform that allows online management of a digital library. And what I really love, Dwayne, is that although you have been overseas working as a software engineer for Goldman Sachs, and you've had that opportunity overseas and working, going to school at Columbia University, you focus on Jamaica. And Book Fusion was created to serve the Caribbean and Jamaica. And, you know I'm going to hear some more, and I'm looking forward to it. But I just want to say thank you from out front, just, you know, to that authentic feel, what it means to our students, what it means to our teachers to have our local content is just an awesome, awesome experience indeed. But I'm going to hand over to you so you can really, you know, introduce us to these books a lot better than I can. Welcome, Dwayne Campbell.
All right, thank you for that warm welcome, Alison. Good afternoon again, teachers and other webinar participants, Dion, Olga, Cynthia, Rebecca, and other distinguished guests. You know, so as Alison mentioned, you know, I'm going to give you a quick overview of the platform and dive into the actual ADT books. But just before we dive into those books, some teachers might not be aware, but some teachers are aware that the ministry has a digital platform online. And so this digital platform is accessible from that link that I just sent in the chat, but you can also access most of the books via Android and iOS as well, online and offline. With regards to the ADT books, however, These are done as a first of a kind books, not just in the Caribbean, but when you look on the global landscape, ADT books done in such a way that allows students that have no disabilities to use the same content that students with special needs use have just been done. And so as a result, the Android, when you have an Android device, we're working on it in this next phase of the initiative to allow you to read it offline on your Android device in the Android app. All right. So let's jump into what does one of the books look like. So to get access to this particular resource, again, you could hit the Ministry of Education link. It will take you to the digital library here. The books that are being converted first to ADT are the Literacy 1, 2, 3 series, as mentioned by Cynthia. Right, so if you scroll down, you'll see the Literacy 1, 2, 3 series here. You have 19 books here, and we already done 2 that was used in pilots across numerous schools to gather feedback. But all of this will be converted in the next several months to use ADT. Now, what if you're looking for the book that we'll demo here today? We have purposely marked all these books, I guess, just to be clear, would be replaced with the ADT version. But before their launch, you could just search UNICEF. 1 minute, you go back to libraries, search UNICEF, and you'll see that it pops up these 2 titles here. Now, you'll just click on, let's click on Harriet and Hen. Once you click on Harriet and Hen, you'll then click Read Now, and it will open in a new tab. And this is where you'll see the first page. Now I'm just going to go through some of the pages in the interest of time. I know it's the end of the day, so I'm just going to start from where the story begins, and I'll play a few pages.
Harriet Hen has 6 chicks.
Let me pause. I forgot to enable the sign language. My apologies. So at the bottom right, you have the sign language icon. And so here, you can have both the sign language and audio played at the same time.
Their names are Pinky, a fluffy pink chick with pink feet. Ruby, a red-eyed chick.
All right, and so before we move to the next page, what you can see here with the sign language, it allows folks that are deaf to be able to control the size of the sign language. Not only that, they could pause the sign language in the middle, to just wait or catch up or completely comprehend what's being taught. And so this allows them to increase the size so that they could see the signs that are being signed, or also reduce it. Now, the beauty with this implementation is that once you move to the next page, the sign language automatically starts as well.
Goldie, a golden yellow chick.
So I'm going to pause the audio. So also, as you saw with the audio, each word is highlighted as it's read to help the child associate a pronunciation with a particular word, right? So with UNICEF and the Ministry of Education, of course. So this is this look and feel of the story. Now, from a teacher's point of view, as mentioned, you could use them in the classroom, but what if you don't want to click the arrows to move back and forth? You just want to have the pages turned by itself. If you click the A button, you could enable turn pages automatically. And what will happen is that at the end of the audio, it will automatically
Larry,
turn the
a
page.
chick with purple polka dots. Bibi, a sweet little baby boy chick with big blue feet. And Percy.
Right, and so you see the page is turned automatically. So as you realized, as mentioned, it uses Jamaican Sign Language, so it's localized, and the narration is also localized. So everything is as localized as possible to help the learner better connect with that content, right? But now it went a step further. At the end of the story, how do you know and evaluate if a kid really understood the story. So as mentioned again, UNICEF and Ministry of Education and Book Fusion also worked on creating assessments. So with these books, they will always include assessment at the end, right? And so these assessments come with sign language as well, language as well, but we have also done assessments in school with folks that are totally visually impaired that require the screen reader. And so they were able to do these assessments as well. And so if they really read the story, they'll realize that this is a hawk.
Well done.
All right.
Are you sure?
Try again.
Try again.
All right. And so these are just some of the activities. You know, we're a bit short for time. You have labeling activities as well. You know, is a dog a plant or animal? So this is kind of putting some kind of science in it. You know, if you say it's a plant, again.
Are you sure? Try again. Well done.
Right. And so that's really a quick overview of the ADT book. So as you can see, you know, when books are created in this way, it is not, it's actually advantage or even enhanced for folks that have no special needs. And when it's done in this way, folks that have special needs can also use the same particular resource, allowing you to have a more inclusive school environment. And so that's it. You know, thank you again for the presentation, for listening to the presentation. And as mentioned, more of these resources will be created.
You know, Dwayne, I think they were enjoying the music. I think they were enjoying the rhythms and the sounds of Jamaica in the book, from the book. And the book has come alive for us all, right? And that's inclusion, right? And but just look at the pumpkin, you know. We don't see these in the, you know, the other books. They're so real to us here in Jamaica. I'm gonna give the teachers a little time to interact with you. Dwayne, I don't know. Let's take some questions. Comments. Would you like to talk to Dwayne? Just raise your hand. I will acknowledge you. Let's see. Anyone has a question to ask Dwayne? Osali Levy.
Hi, Dwayne. Hi, everybody. I asked a question in the chat, trying to find out if the assessment question read aloud to the children.
All right. So for the assessment questions, let me go back. So they don't read aloud to the children because they could read the text. So where ADT was implemented was for the text screen readers for folks that are totally visually impaired or partially visually impaired. When you use the screen reader, it will read the questions to them. And then obviously you see sign language is implemented for those that are deaf. But for those that have no other kind of needs, the audio was not pre-recorded to play for them, but it could be done, you know, if you think that would be a great value add, but during the assessment and pilot phase, you know, it wasn't needed.
Please add that, because my kids would be excluded. You know that I was in the pilot, but my students wouldn't be able to read, and I read all the questions for them and they were able to answer the questions. So I would appreciate it if you put that option in for future for other kids who can't read but can still access information. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. Awesome, Asali. We like the feedback from the teachers that are using these textbooks. Thank you, Asali. We have Denton Kemar Jr. Black. What a long name. Is that the whole name, Denton?
Hi, everyone. Hi, Dwayne.
Hi, good afternoon.
Yes, that was given to me by my parents. I don't know why, but that's just it. Just a question. Is there going to be anything on for grade 4 and grade 5? Because I think we really need some more books based on those information where it consists of grade 4 and grade 5. Because you know that when they move from grade 3, after they finish their grade 3 exam and they're going to move into grade 4, it kind of tricky for most of them because some of them are different types of learners and you would want to reach out more to them, and some of the time you as a teacher has to be the one to do certain things to captivate their mind so it can come real to them. So I'm wondering if more of those things can be added for grade 4 and grade 5 books.
All right. I guess just to be brief, as mentioned, this is a partnership with UNICEF and the Ministry of Education, and a part of this project is to, of course, build capacity on the island with the partnership with the teachers and at the ministry. And so now the ministry has the capacity to start building stuff, and I know Dion and her team have plans to build out more items. So I think with just some patience, you'll see more items come on stream. But first, we have to finish the Literacy 1, 2, 3 series. As you might expect, the production of these books are not a quick step. You have to get the narrations, you have to get the sign language and a bunch of other production stuff done. But the short answer is yes, more resources will be created for ADT.
You see, Dwayne, you light the fire, you start the wave, and we want it. I see people in the chat want science at grade 7 to 13. We're coming, people, we're coming. Jamaica has been always out there as, like I said, we were the first to sign up, and we'll get there. And congrats to Dwayne and the special education team supported by UNICEF. We will get there. Sherdine Da Costa Walker.
Good evening, everyone. I must first say that I am at awe at this initiative. As a secondary educator, I know that it's nowhere near me as yet. However, to be able to have a resource that even for my niece, nephews or so, to have access to, for me, I'm very grateful for that. So I don't have a question because I can understand that you will not reach secondary as yet. So it's the hope that one day we will reach to that point because we want everyone to be included. But the initiative is great, awesome. And I can look at it and say, if I see a child, this is something that can be recommended to a parent so that we can improve everyone around us. So thank you very much.
We love that. Thank you, Sherdine. Thank you. Quite positive, a positive outlook. Thank you. Nicole West Hale.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am not a teacher. I'm actually a parent. So I may be representing the other Niger group of school PTA. This was sent to me by the principal to participate. So I just want to add our voice to congratulate the team for the awesomeness. And we're looking forward to it. Already my daughter is on My Brains is something. So she's on it, she's using it already. But just one suggestion in terms of the type of fonts that we use, because especially I find for my daughter and other special needs kids, is it a capital I, is it a common L, the A's and those kind of things, that some of the fonts not so easy for children with special needs. And so if we could use fonts that are more like how we teach them the letters, that would certainly help.
Wow, thank you, Nicole. We got the feedback from the teacher and you see how awesome that was, but look at the feedback from the parent. Thank you for joining, Nicole. Thank you, principal, for sending it out to the parents. And so teachers, you can tell the parents of this awesome resource that they have at their fingertip. Thank you so much for sharing, Nicole. Dr. Tortella, you have your hand raised.
Yes, thank you, Alison. I just wanted to add a little bit of background information in relation to when we finish this. Well, as we're doing the books, we're going to be working with the ministry on another online, offline learning recovery tool called the Learning Passport, which is a global partnership between Microsoft and UNICEF. You don't have to have a Microsoft account to access the platform, but it just happens to be a global partnership, and we're focusing on grades 1 to 3 because these are really critical catch-up learning grades given the closure of schools for the better part of 2 years. This region was one of the regions where schools were closed to face-to-face learning the longest. And so literacy 1, 2, 3 fit nicely in that time frame. and we're hoping to build it in as a resource on the platform. It can also be accessed outside of the platform, but I just want to try to explain to you that we're trying to, have synergy across the work that we're doing within the ministry. And what Dwayne said about building the capacity within the ministry is important because publishing industry globally is also beginning to change. It's moving more digital, and with that digital movement gives us access to more accessibility and inclusion. So we want to build that capacity, and we're lucky to have Book Fusion here. Dwayne didn't tell you this, but I'm going to big him up in his company because, Dwayne didn't have to come back home. Also, we all have to recognize that. But he did. And he is also now, he and his company are being supporting the conversion of content from 3 other countries in the region: Paraguay, Dominican Republic, and Colombia. So that's coming to Jamaica to convert in Spanish. Dwayne is doing his thing, right? So I want to big him up and his team. And we're doing this all with very much an evidence-based approach. So Dwayne kept telling you we did a pilot. So we didn't just do it, and we're grateful for the feedback here today. Again, it feeds into constant revision and improvement. So we went to different schools with children with disabilities and without disabilities, showed them the content, got their responses, and we're reviewing them, and we'll be releasing a report on that, which will be used by other countries in their journey, in their accessible digital textbook journey along the way, as well as by ourselves. And some of the narration I want to also point out was done by one of the drama clubs, members of a drama club from one of our high schools. So we're also trying to involve young people in the creation of the content itself, so they can see how the technology is used in the education space. That was what I wanted to add. And thank you all again for today.
And thank you for that information. We were picking up Dwayne, but Dwayne, I did say you came for the Caribbean. I could have said Jamaica alone, but you're here for the Caribbean, and we love it. We love it. Absolutely. Teachers, we have a giveaway. We have a giveaway, $500 Digicel credit. Are you ready? This one is an easy one, so it's first hand raised. If you answer it right, you're gonna get it. So let's go. To access your accessible digital textbooks from the ministry's resource page, what's an easy way to find our ADT books? Dwayne said it. Kamala. Kamala, what's an easy way to find our ADT books?
Type in UNICEF.
Where you must type in UNICEF?
In the search.
So, I made it way too easy, but yes, Kamala, we type it into teachers. You go to the ministry's webpage for the books or resources, where you find your 1, 2, 3 literacy 1, 2, 3, sorry. And you go to the search bar, type in UNICEF, because UNICEF has supported putting these books in, digitizing them, putting them in accessible format. And we really want to, say how appreciative we are for the work that UNICEF does to support education in our country. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a long day, but why don't we show you a little bit more about what these textbooks are doing? Again, I want you to go on your Prime Minister, Honorable Andrew Holness page, I think on the JIS Instagram page, the OPM Instagram page, you will see our Honorable Prime Minister talking to a young man named Ari. We have a video today about how new tech turns boy with a disability into his own teacher. So Mr. Leslie, cue video, please. And we have one more giveaway after the video. One more giveaway.
Rebecca Tortello, Education Specialist, UNICEF Jamaica.
The Accessible Digital Textbook Project, which is a partnership between UNICEF, the Ministry of Education, specifically the Special Education Unit, and Book Fusion, aims to harness the power of technology, innovations in technology that can increase the inclusivity, the ways in which learners with and without disabilities are able to engage meaningfully with content at home, at school, and in their communities. You have sign language, you have the voices, but you also have the ability to make the text bigger and smaller, and you have activities that are embedded. So it's taking the digitization of content to a higher, more inclusive level.
Ari, 6 years old, student.
I am happy that I can share this book with my friend Michaela, and she is able to hear.
Stacey Ann Sturridge, Ari's mother.
What I know about the digital books is that they're trying to use them or incorporate them more in schools like Danny Williams to ensure that everybody is learning at the same pace or at the same level.
Heidi and Mitchell Dillon, principal, Danny Williams School for the Deaf.
For the children with secondary disabilities, I can see that they too can interact with the book in that there are options there for them.
Rebecca Tortello, education specialist, UNICEF Jamaica.
For children who are deaf or hearing challenged, that to be able to click on that icon and see the interpretation validates their language, which for many of them it's their first language and English is their second language. If you see that and then they see that, I think one of the biggest takeaways is that it's a validation. It's a form of validation of their language.
Patrice Matheson, classroom teacher, Danny Williams School for the Deaf.
All the concepts and the content of the book, all the concepts are there, and everything that he needs to know that's in the story is actually done in his language. So it's definitely a plus for Ari.
Ari, 6 years old, student.
This is my first time reading a book that has sign language.
Stacey Ann Sturridge, Ari's mother.
With Ari, that's when I realized that we do not include a lot of our society. They are left to the side and we just, I guess, live our lives not even thinking about them, because I did not know a deaf person or a hard of hearing person before Ari. It made me realize that I should try my best to include more people in the things that I'm doing. Being left behind is total sadness. You don't want to be left behind, even as hearing groups. Even if all of us here, we are hearing and somebody is leaving you behind, you're going to feel sad. So everybody wants happiness. Everybody wants to move forward and be happy together.
When she says everybody wants happiness, it reminds me of our flagship psychosocial intervention, Return to Happiness, Rebecca. Right. You see those children look very happy. And isn't Ari just the most handsome young man? Right? Again, these videos can be found on UNICEF Jamaica's YouTube page. And you can go and look at them again. You can also go on our Prime Minister's Instagram page, because he had a sit down with young Ari and Nathaniel, who was 10 years old. And you know, just the joy that it brings to these students to kind of see, you know, hear, interact with the books is just an awesome feeling. We have a giveaway. And since I am appealing to the teachers now, right? Your colleague, Ari's teacher, I need to give you, and you need to give me Ari's teacher's name and the school. What school Ari goes to and the teacher's name. Tracy looked like she was taking notes. Tracy Ann?
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi, Tracy Ann.
Yes, so Ari's teacher's name is Patrice Matheson, and they attend the Danny Williams School for the Deaf.
Oh, wow, Tracy Ann, you were really paying attention.
Definitely so.
Tracy Ann, have you ever been to Danny Williams? Just say yes or no. Oh, I can't.
No, I've never been there.
You've never been there?
No.
All right, good. What region are you from, Tracy Ann?
Region 6, St. Catherine.
St. Catherine, okay. All right, thank you, Tracy Ann. You have won yourself $500 call credit. Mr. Leslie is gonna give that to you. I'm going to ask if anyone has any last burning issue or comment. I think I have a fire alarm going on in my building now. I think it's a good time to wrap up. Teachers, on behalf of the Jamaica Teaching Council, I want to thank you for joining us this evening to talk about accessible digital textbook. The Jamaica Teaching Council was pleased to collaborate with UNICEF Jamaica, our colleagues at the Ministry of Education Special Education Unit, and to come here today, and Book Fusion, Dwayne Campbell, to bring you this webinar. Information is available, teachers. Please use our websites and our resources from the ministry's pages, and please have yourself fun while doing it. On behalf of the JTC, the Ministry of Education and Youth, the UNICEF Jamaica and Book Fusion, I wish you a pleasant good night.
Thank you, and the same to you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Goodbye, everybody.
Good night. Adios.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Trace, and if you stay for a second, I will leave the credit in the chat. Just give me 1 second, Tracy. And
Alison, we'll get the recording and see if we can link it to our link from UNICEF's page.